Hello. It's not every day that you meet someone with a fascinating career path, as our guest today has, who has navigated from the foundational world of mining to the cutting edge of digital leadership. Our guest today is Ashish, Chief Digital Officer at NBC Bearings CK Birla Group. His diverse background from mining to digital leadership has given him a unique lens for the digital transformation. He's passionate about business improvement. Ashish's experience across industries and his co-authorship book, A Modern Playbook of Digital Transformation, helps a lot of people in transforming the business, even in supply chain management. Welcome, Ashish.
Thank you, Dr. Chavi. It's a pleasure to be here.
Ashish, we would love to hear a little about you.
Great. Now, first of all, thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to be a part of the series that you are having for the academic purpose and for learning. So, thank you once again. When I reflect about my journey and about myself, uh, I, I am I was brought up in a town called Ranchi, and that's where I completed my schooling. I started working as a mining engineer after completing my BTech in mining and worked almost 4 years in the mines, hands on the ground. But I think it was at that time that the entrepreneurial or the entrepreneurship started instilling in me because the, the type of work that I got was always giving me two choices. And that reminds me of a line from the poem The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. In fact, The Road Not Taken is exactly the point of my career, and I always have pivoted towards the road not taken. And that starts right from the beginning, including my time at the mines. So I started my career with Tata Steel, and I have opened up a new iron ore mine for them. And when I say a new iron ore mine, it was a mining lease lying idle, and we had to commence operations from that mine, prepare that mine, and commence operations from that mine, which in itself is a experience of not a typical shift operations or a supply chain, but a mix of general management and operations and supply chain and everything that you can wish for right at the early stage of your career. So that was the beginning. And after I completed my MBA with a major in supply chain, I joined a technology consulting company called Accenture, and that's where I learned my technology. The bug bit me, and it has been with me for so long. I think that's what is a true transformation, and I could see the power of technology impacting businesses. And in the initial years, I actually worked on technology that supported the supply chains of many organizations, including a very global science company. And I also got the opportunity to work on the supply chain of an Indian retailer for their food business. After that, it has all been about the new technology, the next gen technology, what we today call as digital, and how digital shapes up the today's environment, today's businesses, how is it changing the landscape, and and how digital strategy and roadmap are all important for the businesses to transform themselves. So there has been pivots at various stages in my career. So from a mining engineer, mining ore, to today a digital leader, making my hands, dealing with data and doing data mining. It actually is very, very exciting for me as well. Every day is exciting, and that's what actually thrills me. And if when I reflect, I think nothing was planned. It all kept happening. I went with the flow, and today it's all about data analytics and AI, and with Gen AI and the emerging technologies that we see, I'm sure the world will see many more disruptions, and the businesses of tomorrow will and technology has become a hygiene. So the businesses of tomorrow will be run on technology rather than anything else. That's how I see myself, and when I reflect on the journey, it's all very grateful that I kept getting the opportunities to work in the area that was always concurrent. So that's about me.
Would you like to put some light on how supply chain is going on in your company?
Sure. Yes, indeed, digital is actually the talk of the town. And when we are talking amongst our peers or even in the organization, we have undergone a huge digital transformation um, in the organization that we are working currently, that I am working currently. And in my consulting career as well, I have been part of large digital transformation initiatives by large organizations. And these are all global organizations playing in the global supply chain per se.
Right.
And what I see that technology has been a game changer for almost all of these. Specifically for supply chains, it's about the mix of strategy and technology together that will be a winning combination for the businesses to sustain, to become resilient, and to overcome the macroeconomic situation that we are now experiencing. And as far as it goes, I see that this situation will continue for some time. This isn't going to go away. We have seen that the macroeconomic conditions have been almost for 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
And organizations are adapting, they are thriving. I think this is going to be the future. Organizations will have to adapt. Supply chain will provide the required core competency and the competitive advantage to these organizations to maintain their profitability.
Right.
That's how I see it.
Right. We will come back to this disruption in the macro environment in some time. Before that, we will like to discuss how this supply chain is different for some FMCGs from some mining companies and maybe some other industries. How it differs.
Sure. The way I look at supply chain, I like to keep it simple at the beginning, though it's, as you start getting deep into supply chain, it starts becoming complex. But at a very high level, the basic understanding that one should have is, how do I make my products or services delivered to my customers and make my customers happy by providing them whatever goods, services that I am providing or manufacturing. Now, going back to the score model of supply chain, as a basic, I always go back and refer that. So it's the plan, source, make, deliver, and return. So if any organization is following these basic principles of supply chain, I think that's how you can analyze any company, any industry for its supply chain.
You talked about suppliers.
Yes.
How important are the suppliers when we talk about supply chain? Is there any particular way that suppliers are identified or their performance is measured?
Again, going back to the score model.
It is
source
important.
Is a very important aspect
Planning part.
of, after planning comes the sourcing.
Yeah.
And when you are sourcing, you are dependent on the suppliers. The suppliers depends on the type of products or services that you are providing or making, manufacturing, etc.
Right.
So depending on the type of product, you will have your suppliers. Take the case of an automobile manufacturer. Who are the suppliers?
Not many.
There are lots. There are many. And as basic as even a small part within a car or a vehicle that you can imagine is sourced. The automobile manufacturer rarely manufactures each and everything.
Right.
They do the assembly.
Yeah.
And they do the fine tuning of ultimately all those parts.
It is applicable also in FMCG industries. If we talk about burgers, a lot many things are again assembled.
That's a very good example that you took. That's the fast food supply chain, and we need to analyze, because these are all perishable.
Yeah.
The goods are perishable. You need to make the supply chain such that you have to have the raw materials in time, and you need to just have the right raw materials so that you meet the demand.
Yeah.
And you're not overshooting, because tomorrow the same raw materials can go waste.
Definitely.
So there comes the planning part and the sourcing part to play a role in the make or the manufacturing side.
Yeah.
So you took the example of a fast food or a burger chain, and
Yeah.
let's imagine what all they can source.
Yeah.
So they will source a bread.
Yeah.
They will source vegetables. They will source the packing material. They will source maybe for the kitchen material. So all these together,
Sauces and stationery and a lot many things.
Absolutely. All these have to be sourced. They have to be brought to the store, and each store that services the customers or the consumers in a time so that the store can make themselves ready to serve the customers.
Right.
And see how fast they operate. So all these raw materials have to be in the best of quality. So quality becomes important and a hygiene factor in this supply chain. And the suppliers need to take care of it.
So here we have to be responsive in this particular case.
It is responsive. It is responsible as well.
Okay.
And that's the supply chain. Now, when you go back to the, say, goods which are of the nature of which require a shelf, to be to reach the customers or the consumers, or even we were taking the example of an automobile. So we started with the sourcing of parts to aggregating them at one place or assembling them at one place and making a vehicle for that matter. And then there are the dealer distributor channel to whom you and I go and buy the vehicles.
Yeah.
Now, this is the entire chain that these follow. So if you look at chains, there is a distribution channel. So there would be a sourcing channel, there would be a distribution channel. So as a part of supply chain, there is information flow, there is a material flow that is happening, and also there is a monetary transaction that is taking place in each and every node. So all these together define the supply chain that we have. And depending on the type of goods that we deal with, that an organization deals with, they have to define their own supply chains, the suppliers, the vendors, and they have to formulate a strategy that is actually going to help them in the long run.
Right.
It's because they are in the business for a long run. It's not that today you are doing something and tomorrow, you want to just move away from that.
Yeah.
So as responsible organizations, or as any business is, it is estimated, it is assumed that they are in it for at least 10, 20 years or so.
Definitely.
And depending on that, they choose their supplier partners, their vendor partners. Every company has a strategy towards their suppliers. You typically have a single vendor or a multiple vendor strategy. You want to diversify your risk. You want to de-risk in terms of the critical items that you source. You want to manage your inventory because that forms a major capital that gets blocked in the chain.
Yes.
So when you're selecting a supplier, factors you need to have, or you need to verify whether the supplier can truly be a partner for you for your business or not. And that is done on multiple factors, depending again on the business, but the financial health, the quality of people that the supplier has, the sourcing that the supplier does, so it becomes a tier 2 and a tier 3 in the chain. I talked about the financial health, yes.
Lead time.
The lead time, where are they located? How far are they from your factory? What is their credibility in the market if they're not new? Do they supply to your competitors? What is their last 2 to 3 years of financial health? You need to study that. What is the cost of production that they will offer you?
Right.
Because you're sourcing, and ultimately it becomes a part of your cost.
Yeah.
So these are some supplier vendor strategies that you need to have in your company, and time and again you need to work with them to keep developing them, which is called actually a partnering with the supplier.
Yeah.
And also there are regular audits that as the parent organization or the OEM organization, the organizations conduct towards their vendor partners.
And some organizations also provide some certifications to suppliers also.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And these certifications are a mark that yes, okay, you are fit enough to, do business with us.
Okay.
Organizations hold supplier conferences. And as I said, there are organizations need to look at their vendors or their suppliers as a partner. And towards that, I think all major organizations that you can think of have already taken those steps, and they have a dedicated team who manages the suppliers.
Yeah.
It's called vendor management.
Yeah.
And as a part of the vendor management, there are various things that they do. The improvement activities that is done in the parent organization also gets cascaded to the suppliers ecosystem.
Okay. Yeah.
I can talk about digital because that's also another
That
aspect
is the
that
most
we are
important
are
one.
actually cascading that to the our partners, and our customers want us to do more and more in technology because it's the ecosystem that grows together.
Yeah.
We do not want our partners to be left behind in this wave. So that is what is happening actually with as an improvement in the management of suppliers or vendors. Every company is taking those steps.
Yeah.
Technologically as well, they are taking steps to upgrade and uplift their partners so that the partners are not left behind in this technology wave.
Previously, companies were talking about only customer relationship management, but now it's time that we have to also think about the supplier relationship management. And with that, we talked about assembling, we talked about make to order, make to assemble. Now let's discuss a few things about the warehousing, how you handle this warehousing with the help of technology again.
So, yeah, we did talk about suppliers, and then there is the manufacturing process of the company that comes into the picture. But what do you do after you have the goods manufactured? You need to make them reach to the customers. And warehouses are a place where you store the finished goods typically.
Yeah.
So warehouses are a place where you store finished goods. You also store the raw materials when they come to your premises.
Spare parts also.
Spare parts, etc. So there are warehouses, but let's talk about finished goods, for example.
Yeah.
The max. So there are examples of technology that is used in the warehouse, and warehouse management system is a very standard technology. The typical process that happens in the warehouse is that of receiving. Then there is a put away. There is a pick list. Then there is dispatch. So each of this process is broken down into its sub-processes and analyzed technologically. Many a times the high-level process is managed by the ERP, where the warehouse management system.
Yes.
Then most of the modern warehouses are trying to make their processes error-proof. They don't want humans to make those errors when suppose a person goes out to the bins and they want to pick a material from the bins for shipping. They're not picking the wrong box from the bin. So this is where technology comes into the picture, and it matches the pick list with the material that is stored in the bin. There are automation in the warehouse itself where robots are deployed to store the goods. There is automation for stacking of the goods.
Order management systems
Order
also.
management system is there definitely. So all these things play a very important role till the time we ship out the goods. And I think we can see a lot of examples of modern warehouses in today's context where Amazon and the likes in the retail world, they're already doing it. And they are actually facilitating the commerce that is today getting driven. From a time when we used to go out and buy the goods to the time when we got hooked on to Amazon. Today we are having the 10-minute delivery.
Yeah.
And we see how
they have changed the total business scenario.
It's so it has a supportive nature as well. There are people in the society who are actually in need of those 10-minute delivery. There are working couples, there are senior citizens who need it. But what's happening is it's actually changing the buying behavior.
As well as social norms.
And the social norms, yes. So this is actually driving the warehouse automation, the order management, the fulfillment that needs to happen. How many times? So the 10-minute delivery is actually catering to your immediate need. So, which means you need that material at that material is of too much of importance for you at that moment. Imagine a wrong order being supplied to you. But how many times does it happen? Very rare.
Very rare.
So the accuracy in these deliveries have gone notch high, and the Six Sigma levels have.
I was about to talk that Six Sigma.
Yes, the Six Sigma levels have been crossed, and technology is playing its own role. The underlying layer of intelligence, the underlying layer of algorithms that actually define how the order gets ingested, how the order gets consumed, it gets the stock gets allocated, and the dispatch is happening. Everything is happening on a platform. Platform technology is actually at play with underlying intelligence layer of machine learning and now Gen AI, and with the predictions, the recommendation engines all working together. So the businesses are now today run on technology. I see as an infusion of the practices that businesses used to have and technology together. It has to work together to actually innovate, and all these 10-minute delivery, etc., are innovations. These are innovations that are disrupting, and you see it's already disrupted the buying behavior of the consumer.
Yeah. You talked about technology, but are the traditional techniques like Kanban, are they still used?
They are, and they will be. So the validity of Kanban, of 5S, of TPM, TQM, they cannot be ignored. Even in the manufacturing setups, when we are implementing Industry 4.0 or any such technology, the first point of improvement are the traditional and lean methods that we traditionally deploy in the manufacturing setup.
Yeah.
So we start with the 5S, we go ahead, Six Sigma is a regular practice that we keep doing. The TPM and the TQM are principles by which the manufacturing has to abide by, and Industry 4.0 can only reap the benefits if you have all these set up on the shop floor.
Yeah.
So that's how it is, and then the processes have to be Six Sigma compliant going forward.
Right.
Almost tending towards zero error.
Okay. So right now we talked about warehousing, where we are involving ERP, WMS, we have supplier relationship managements, we have order management systems. Now, how transport management systems or logistics are included or integrated with the help of technology?
I think you're covering the entire chain by this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually, once the goods are shipped out, the transport comes into the picture. Now, we take the example of retail and the quick commerce. It's all on the platform.
Yeah.
Right, the order, the allocation of the transport service provider or the delivery person, it's all happening on the platform. So there we need not think much. It's happening. Somebody has well thought of the process. It's an established way of working today. Let's talk about what the traditional organizations can do in this space. So traditionally, this was a part of the sales and distribution in particular. Right? So right from the indent to the time the goods move out, which actually is the outbound logistics, to the time the goods reach the customer or the consumer, the demand is that we need to have visibility all across.
And moreover, the cost.
That's the customer expectation. The cost of doing it is a given. You need to build it in the product, or you need to bring your costs down so that you're meeting, you have to drive in efficiency, and that's what the manufacturers are dealing with today.
Yeah.
On one side, the customer expectations are rising. On the other side, when you are deploying these practices, these technologies, your cost will definitely go up. But then there are benefits that you reap. The benefits come in the form of efficiency, productivity gain. You're unlocking efficiency in the organization, in the process, that actually rarely, or it was there, but it could not be unlocked. So that's where I see that technology is playing its role. And the outbound logistics, right from the time we roll out a contract to the transporter, if the transport is outsourced,
Yeah.
or if we are an organization who's handling the transport itself, which rarely is the case. There are 3PL, 4PL service
Yeah.
providers, and this is an area which is mostly outsourced. But right from contract management to indenting to vehicle placement, loading, and the outbound tracking till the time of delivery, the proof of delivery,
Yeah.
invoice generation, and thereby the cash collection also.
Yeah.
It can be today on a single platform enabled by technology. Many organizations have taken the step. Some organizations are doing it bit by bit depending on the type of outbound logistics that they have. Large organizations, they would look for the cost of transport to go down with this. The vehicle turnaround time inside the from gate in to gate out, now that's a pain point with almost all manufacturers. That is slated to go down with the use of technology. So you track the vehicles right from the indent to the time you load the vehicle and push them off out of the gate. So gate in to gate out is also managed through technology. And because you have visibility, because you have systems that are planning your dispatches in time, these are all managed well.
Again, technology is very important while tracking the for the visibility.
Yes, technology always comes into the picture there. And believe it or not, but every business function, every business and its functions will be based out of technology tomorrow. It will be done on technology. Today, we might be doing it on pen, paper, Excel, or some other mode, or an offline. But as more and more technology seeps in to the society, seeps into the businesses cannot escape this. No matter whichever layer of the industry they are in, large corporations, mid-sized MSMEs, technology is going to permeate.
We have covered a lot many things. And if we talk about technology, is it also used for demand forecasting?
In fact, that's the first thing it does. And going back to the SCORE model again, planning.
Yeah.
So demand forecasting is the first part in demand planning. And yes, technology is being used there. Earlier it was done statistically. Today there are AI/ML models that include your variability into the forecasting. And this reduces the variability in demand. You can forecast, you can increase your accuracy, forecast accuracy, which actually helps the manufacturers reduce the bullwhip effect in the future and going down the chain. So demand forecasting is the first step. Now for organizations that are starting off in this journey, they should start at least to begin doing it with the help of statistical tools. But there are tools in AI/ML as well, so they can take and leapfrog this journey and start doing it based on AI demand forecasting itself.
Okay.
And there are tools that have the algorithms built in.
Yeah.
All that they need to do is to bring in their historical sales data and the horizon in which they need to plan, the type of SKUs, the type of inventory norms that they need to maintain, the safety stock, the reorder point, etc. And the tool will give them the answer.
That's great.
But as easy as it sounds, it actually takes time to mature.
Yeah.
Because you need to keep validating, and a typical supply chain tool takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months or 9 months, depending on the maturity of your business, to start yielding results. So if you think that today I'm not using anything, but if I start using a tool or a technology, and tomorrow I want to see my KPIs improving, that's going to take some time, and that's a reality.
Okay. In one talk some time back with you, you talked about 2.0, 4.0 regarding the industry. How mature we are in India?
That's a good point. So yeah, we do talk about Industry 4.0. A point to note is, where do we start, or where are we starting? As if you go and analyze, I think that's the first step. The analysis and maturity assessment of the shop floor is the first step in Industry 4.0 journey. You need to understand what is the type of machines that you're dealing with, what are the type of controllers that you're dealing with, are they compatible for data exchange or not? If not, then you need to make them ready. That's where the first step is. That's the Industry 2.0 and 3.0 that I spoke about whenever I did. But that's where we start. You analyze it, and if not, and well, you have to be in the business, and that is a critical machine for you, then you will have to think of either upgrading it or retrofitting it, or find out a way to extract data from the machine. So that becomes the first step in my Industry 4.0 journey, that I make my machines compatible for data exchange. Most of the machines that are on SCADA or DCSs, even PLCs, are compliant and they can exchange data, but then the factories or shop floors that are legacy machines, or have not seen a lot of automation investment in the past few years, they might see us initial struggle. But in order to keep pace with the world, and also in order to unleash the potential within the shop floor without investing a lot of capex, I think this is one good way to go ahead.
Okay.
You can monitor your production real time. You can monitor your machines in a real time basis, and quality. So you're actually tackling all the three in a real time basis. And this actually goes on to reduce your machine breakdown times, increases the availability of the machines, and thus, if you increase the availability of the machines, you're directly correlating it with the production.
Production, it increases.
So the production increases. But the traditional methods that we spoke of, 5S, Six Sigma, Lean, TPM, TQM, they need to be practiced definitely on the shop floor. Kanban, for example.
Yeah.
So all these need to be followed together with the Industry 4.0 to give you the best results that you can, or you need to extract at the shop floor. That's how it goes.
And these days we are talking a lot about sustainability, green supply chains. What is your take on this?
Yeah, we do. And well, sustainability is important. Let's understand that. If we need to leave the world a better place for the future generation, and that's the ask, that is why we are talking about sustainability. And if we need to do that, we need to do things responsibly today.
Yeah.
And that is where sustainability in supply chain as well. Supply chain inherently is not green, right? When you transport goods, when you manufacture goods away from your consumers, you need to make them available to your consumers. And to do that, you will spend energy to either transport the goods, or so what can you do there? How can you make supply chain sustainable?
Some companies are using battery operated vehicles in place of using the fuel generated ones. I don't know how green they are in that manner.
I see that as a topic of good debate.
Those batteries also.
Batteries and EVs, and being a mining engineer,
Yeah, you understand that well.
It goes back to the minerals that get
That's the dark side.
Mined out, but we don't talk about it often.
Yeah.
And sustainability or reusability of those is something that the world is still learning. I'm sure it will learn. Well, EVs are definitely being talked about and still to be proven if they are greener than the traditional
That needs to be checked.
combustion engines. But nonetheless, to the end consumer, it appears to be so. And at the front phase, because you need to generate electricity somewhere. Now, you will do it either through the renewable energy or through the traditional methods of generating electricity. Now, for in countries that are generating electricity to the traditional means, so EVs,
Doesn't fit well.
it can be a mix. It can take up certain percentages of the combustion engine, but the way to go forward is towards renewable.
Okay.
So you need to tackle your supply chain at the source, and sustainability can be added at the source itself. So sustainability in supply chain, when we talk about green supply chain, what we are doing is that we are ensuring that our supply chain metrics at each and every stage are actually yielding us benefits. And also, when we talk about the green supply chain, we are tracking them down to our suppliers to supplier, and are they doing it the right way or not? So the renewable energy part has to percolate as well. There is so much of sunlight available. Let's use it in the best way that we can. And there is wind energy, there is solar energy. So all these, how best we can use for the machines that we are running is going to pave the way forward for us. Reducing scrap, reducing rework. That's another supply chain part. Reduce the returns. The returns are also something that actually consumes the supply chain energy somewhere. So they also contribute towards the unsustainable way of working. And this is for consumers also to realize. It's easy to click the return button and exchange button, but somewhere energy is being spent.
Yes.
So when we talk about sustainability, I think each one of us will have to adopt that sustainability in ourselves.
We need to be more responsible citizens.
We have to be. And that goes out not only with the organizations, but I feel that it has to be at the individual level.
Individual level also.
We need to imbibe it.
Yeah. It might be forcefully, like SDGs,
Yes.
the carbon footprints.
Yeah, if we don't do it ourselves, then probably tomorrow it will be forced on us.
Yes.
It will be forced on our generations as well, so might as well do it.
Would you like to suggest anything which the newbies or the people who are willing to enter into the supply chain skills or the supply chain management roles, what are those essential educational sets or skill sets which are desired?
I'll go back to basics.
Score?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plan, source, make, deliver, and return. So choose your area. Either you can be everywhere, or you can choose to specialize in one. But the another thing is, it's all common sense. And when I was studying mining engineering and I had gone to do my internship at one of the mines, the mines manager had told me, I don't know who created mining engineering as an engineering stream. Why do you need science to do what we are doing today? Why do you really need that? It's all common sense how you go about doing it. And I think the same goes with supply chain. There is science, but then it's also about applying common sense in the main, and also the other aspects. If somebody is entering this area, it's about just do it. So doing it, which is execution, learning, unlearning, and relearning. This cycle continues ever.
Okay.
And this is something that everyone and anyone will have to look into in their respective fields. So I was once into supply chain. Now I'm doing more than supply chain. And when I get back to work on supply chains, I'm very happy. But there are other stuff as well to do. And that also is new, and that makes me, the learning cycle increases there.
Yeah.
So I see that anywhere you get a chance to learn, grab it. And if you are actually going to make yourself a supply chain professional, that's the area to be, because supply chains will define the future. They will make the organizations, or give the organizations the competitive edge that they need in this environment of macro uncertainty. The resilience that is needed by the organizations will come from supply chain itself.
Yeah.
How fast you can adopt to, say, a chain getting disrupted. First, we had a look at it during COVID, and now there are various macroeconomic scenarios, the China US, the
Russia,
the
Ukraine.
Middle East, and then the Russia Ukraine. You never know which country will close their borders when. So if you are in a global supply chain, you really need to have you need to de-risk it and plan for it.
Yeah.
So the business continuity has to be thought of well in advance.
Okay.
And this business continuity planning needs to be done. The technology needs to be enabled so that once you want to switch, you can switch. And that is how technology also needs to adopt.
Actually, technology is just an enabler.
It is an enabler. The business leads it. And with technology, what happens? It has its own lead time to development and deployment. But then, as a technology provider, that lead time also needs to be brought down. That's how I see it. The lead time towards developing a solution, deploying a solution, that has to be drastically brought down. It needs to be like immediate. Cannot be immediate, but okay, whatever lead time you can cut down, you should, for the organization to actually gain the benefits out of it.
Right.
That's how it is.
Thank you, Ashish, for this wonderful insights for our learners, and definitely they would have gained, and I have also learned a lot with you, and thanks a lot again for this.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me here. It was a pleasure sharing my experience, and thanks to IIS, thanks to Dr. Chavi, a great morning it is, and we all live in supply chains. I look at everything from a supply chain standpoint. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you once again.